heart of the matter is? This, not surprisingly, this is the problem. So we go back to the people that have HIV, and then the next slide is of the people who have HIV, how many are being treated? And here again, you don't want to be in the dark colors. The dark colors indicate that less than 10% of people with HIV are being treated. And look at this, Africa. Pretty much all around Africa, a very small percentage of people with HIV were being treated. Now, this is a 2006 number. Thankfully, it's beginning to change. But we have a lot of people sick, and these people are not being treated. And not surprisingly, remember the car and the highway where progress was not being made? Well, look at this. Science is not helping here. This is life expectancy. In the countries with high HIV prevalency, life expectancy is dropping back to the natural state of humans, back to the 35 years old. We're going back in time in Africa instead of progressing. But we have the medicines and we have the money. So this is a shame. We need to fix this problem. Only fixing this problem, a lot of other tensions may be fixed. Thankfully, like Fondazione Italcementi, there's a lot of smart people, wealthy and smart people, that thought about this and that are trying to help. So this was an incredible set of responses. One was very notable, not the current president of the United States, who is very popular, but the previous president of the United States, who internationally has had a harder time sometimes, was in fact the person who started the biggest donation on earth for HIV, to help HIV. This is PEPFAR. Then the Clinton Foundation, another former American president, has helped a lot to reduce the cost of an HIV treatment in a developing nation. So Clinton Foundation was in the battle to try to open up the patent rights, so that medicines could be sold in poor nations or developing nations at cost instead of at full price. But thanks to that, then, this is what happened. This is the Global Fund. The Global Fund is famous because the young people should know probably, Mr. Bono from U2, was, in fact, Mr. Bono was himself who convinced the US president to spend money on HIV. Initially, Mr. Bush thought that perhaps HIV was not a disease he wanted to contribute to because of the moral connotations behind being sick with HIV, but Mr. Bono convinced him that perhaps it is a good, let's say in his particular case, a good Christian idea to help those in need. And in fact, Mr. Bono here was involved in this Global Fund initiative that is now treating about 2 million people that are sick with HIV. This is the results. Well, I mentioned the Americans, the PEPFAR, but the total results of people being treated with HIV now went from, like I told you, 200,000 people being treated. The laser pointer died. But let's say in 2002, only 200,000 people were being treated. And thanks to Mr. Bono, thanks to Mr. George Bush, thanks to a lot of other people, thanks to the Clinton Foundation, thanks to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the Italian government as well, this is the truth today, is that we have 3 million people being treated that are sick. So we went from almost nothing to 3 million. Of course, that is not enough, but at least things are getting better. However, the problem doesn't end there. Something is... Yes. See, when you begin treatment with HIV, treatment doesn't cure you. You cannot cure the disease today, so you have to take medicines all your life. And this is very important. If adherence is the percentage of times that you take the medicine they tell you. For example, I have arthritis. It's an old man disease. You probably won't heard about it. You haven't heard about it. But in my case, I have to take medicine. But because I feel good, I'm young, I forget. If I forget today, maybe tomorrow it hurts a little bit. So what? If you forget to take your AIDS medicine, you die. So you have to take your pills every day of your life. And if you start skipping treatment, you die. So it's not the 3 million people, it's only the beginning of the matter. Because now these people are getting the medicine, but if they don't continue the treatment, they may still die. And look at the difference, by the way, between treatment and no treatment. This is the same person with HIV and full, well, in this case, he had tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is a similar story. Tuberculosis sometimes is also joined with HIV. So a lot of TB positive people with tuberculosis also have HIV. But it's a similar story in the sense that it's a very long treatment. And if you skip the treatment, you may die. Although tuberculosis can be cured. Although it's more complicated. I don't want to go into the details of tuberculosis, but you get the point. With treatment, without treatment. Here's the thing. These people have to walk a lot to go get their medicines. Sometimes up to 30 kilometers a day to go get the pills and then come back. Now, usually these people live with very little money. If they have to go walk to get their medicines, that day they can't work. If they don't work, they don't eat. So the day they walk to get the medicines, they may not have enough food to eat. So the longer they have to walk, it's not that they're lazy, it's the more hours they are without working, and the more hours they are without making money. If you don't make money, you die of hunger. So that's what I would call to be trapped between a rock and a hard place. Do I die of hunger because I can't work, because I have to go get my medicine? And maybe you go to a rural health center and the medicine is not available. Service levels are very low. Or do I die of HIV because I work and I have food, but I don't get the medicine? So here's where we come in. This is joint work between James Dorbor now is one of our students. We invented a scholarship. I say invented because the Global Fund, the wife of the president of the Global Fund actually was in Zaragoza explaining to us all of this about 4 years ago, at the time when I heard about Fondazione Italcementi and how Italy was getting more and more into logistics. I was also talking at the same time with the Global Fund, and when she explained all of that to us, she said, well, I don't know, we can't change the world in one day, but I can do a little thing. I was in a basement of a bar in Zaragoza when I decided on the spot, let's create a scholarship. We didn't have the money, it didn't matter. At least we know education, let's try bringing people to learn about this. Mr. Dorbor was the first person that we brought from Africa that we trained for free. He is now the vice minister of, I think it's planning in Liberia. He went back to Liberia, his home country, and he's helping the Liberian government. Chris Carr is actually an American student. We have a lot of Americans in Zaragoza, and he came from the software industry. So this is how these two, together with two of our professors, did their little, let's say, added their little brick to build the cathedral that maybe one day will solve the problem. And this is what I'm going to talk about a little bit. So essentially, first is study how distance matters. The further away that you have to walk to get treated, the more the probability that you will skip a treatment, and the more the probability that you will die. And then given that, how do you plan? Where do you distribute the medicines? I mean, ideally, you will put it everywhere, in every single village, but you can't because you have a limited budget. So the question is, how can we use this money that is being donated by all the people in the world, including your very own Italian government, which is a donor? How can you use the money that you paid in your taxes and I paid in my taxes smartly? Well, first of all, they picked some evidence about the probability that people will sign up, even just signing up for the HIV